It happened on a Friday evening. One of those early fall Fridays where the sky's dark before you even finish your commute. I got off work about 90 minutes earlier than usual, thanks to a busted HVAC unit at the office that sent everyone home. Honestly, I didn't plan on telling Carol I was coming home early. I figured I'd surprise her, maybe even squeeze in a nap. I hadn't been sleeping well lately, and I was too tired to question why. No special reason. At least that's what I thought then. When I walked in, the house was quiet, the kind of quiet that should feel peaceful but didn't. Her car was in the driveway, so I assumed she was home. But no sound from the TV, no clattering dishes in the kitchen, not even her usual voice on a phone call. Just silence, like the place was holding its breath. I dropped my keys on the console table by the front door and headed straight to the bedroom to grab a change of clothes. I wasn't thinking about anything at that point. Not even suspicious. Just tired. Worn out. But then I opened the bedroom door. And everything stopped. There, lying dead center on our bed, was a belt. A man's belt. Boutique brand. Still had the tag on it. Dark brown leather, silver buckle, real high-end craftsmanship. The kind of belt that didn't belong to me, and definitely not the kind Carol would wear. I walked over slowly, like the thing might vanish if I moved too fast. I picked it up, turned it over in my hands. Soft leather, stiff from being new. It didn't just look expensive, it felt deliberate, like someone had gone out of their way to leave it there. The tag said it came from a place called Lucent Haberdashery. I'd never even heard of it, but a quick mental scroll through our closet told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't an accidental mix-up. This wasn't mine. It wasn't hers. It didn't belong here. And that's when I noticed the smell. Cologne. Not mine. I wear a woody musk I've used since college. Not Carol's either. She wears soft florals, powdery and sweet. This was different. Bolder. A sharp, peppery edge to it. Masculine and unfamiliar. It clung faintly to the fabric of the sheets. Faint but undeniable. And then I heard it, the water running in the master bathroom. She was in the shower. I stood there, belt in hand, not knowing what to feel first. Anger? Confusion? Maybe even embarrassment. Like I had walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. I put the belt down, sat on the edge of the bed, and just stared at it. The water shut off. Moments later, the bathroom door opened. Steam rolled out, followed by Carol, wrapped in a towel, damp hair clinging to her shoulders. She paused when she saw me, and for a split second our eyes locked. And nothing. No surprise. No panic. Just this blankness. She glanced down at the belt on the bed, then back at me. Her expression barely shifted. "Oh," she said, as casually as someone noticing a sock on the floor. "That must have been the furniture delivery guys. He was here Monday." That was all she said. No question about why I was home early. No follow-up. No curiosity about my expression or explanation beyond that one sentence. Just a shrug, like the belt didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. She walked past me, towel swishing around her legs, opened her dresser, pulled out clothes and started getting dressed. Quiet, efficient, like I wasn't sitting 2 feet away with a dozen questions swirling in my head. "Carol," I said, not loud, not angry, just a name, question, wrapped in one word. She didn't respond, just started brushing her hair. I tried again. "You're telling me a guy came in, dropped his belt on our bed, and just forgot it? Nothing. And you didn't notice it before now?" She tossed the brush onto the dresser and finally looked at me. But not with concern. Not with guilt. With irritation. "I don't know, Owen," she said flatly. "Maybe it got left there when they were moving stuff in. What do you want me to say?" There was no tremble in her voice. No nervous laugh. Just cold, practiced indifference. I stood up, not sure what to say. I wasn't even sure what I believed yet. But the way she reacted, that's what hit me hardest. Not the belt, not the cologne, not even the fact that she didn't seem surprised. It was the way she acted, like I was the inconvenience. Like my confusion was the real problem here. She walked out of the room without another word, leaving me standing there, alone. Questions stacked up in my head like bricks, heavy and sharp. When I finally followed her into the kitchen, she was scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I leaned on the counter, arms crossed. "Are we gonna talk about this?" She didn't even look up. "Carol." Still nothing. No acknowledgement. No reaction. It was like I didn't exist. That night, she didn't speak another word to me. Not during dinner. Not during her nightly skincare routine. Not when she got into bed and turned off the light. And not the next morning either. It wasn't a fight. Fights I could handle. Fights mean someone still cares enough to argue. This was different. This was war without we *p***ness. A standoff built on silence. And I knew, deep down, that belt wasn't a mistake. It was a signal. That day wasn't the beginning of something. It was the reveal. The curtain rising on a play I didn't know I was part of. And Carol? She'd already memorized her lines. The silence didn't end after that night. It stretched across days like a fog that never lifted. Carol moved around the house like I wasn't there. Like we were two ghosts sharing the same space, passing through each other without leaving a mark. She didn't bring up the belt again. Neither did I, not right away. I needed time to think, to remember, to rewind. And once I started rewinding, everything began falling into place. 2 weeks earlier, that was the first time she refused the GPS update for her car. I'd offered to install one of those apps we used to have back when we first moved here. You know, for emergencies. It wasn't even meant as a trust thing, just convenience. But she shut it down fast. Called it paranoia. Said I was acting controlling. Even though I was just trying to help. At the time, I apologized. I backed off. I remember thinking maybe she was stressed. That work had her on edge. But now, I couldn't stop hearing the way she'd said it. "You don't need to track me, Owen. That's not healthy." Not healthy. I used to agree with her. But now it felt more like a barrier she'd set in place. And then there was her phone. It used to live face up on the kitchen counter, on the nightstand, on the coffee table. We used to share playlists, photos, memes. I'd grab it to change the song while we cooked or check the weather while she drove. No passwords, no hiding. That changed around the same time she rejected the GPS. Now it was always face down. Always. Even when she showered. Even when she was cooking. Even when she went to use the bathroom, she took it with her. And she didn't let it out of her sight. Ever. At first, I told myself it was a phase. That maybe she was just more into her private space. We'd been together long enough to know that sometimes couples drift a little and come back. But this time, something about the drift felt wrong. Like she was actively pulling away. And then there was the night I couldn't sleep. It was around 3 in the morning. I'd gone to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. And there she was. Standing by the sink, whispering into her phone. She didn't hear me at first. Her back was to me, her voice low and fast. I heard one sentence, just one. "No, he doesn't know." She jumped when I stepped into the light. Slammed her phone screen off like it burned her. "You okay?" I asked. She blinked. Nodded. "Couldn't sleep," she said. "Was just scrolling." I glanced at the phone. Locked. The screen still lit up with a man's name I didn't recognize. I didn't ask. Back then, I swallowed it. I told myself I was just tired. That she deserved the benefit of the doubt. But now I couldn't stop replaying it. That phone call. That voice. That reaction. And then I remembered something else. Something that had seemed too small to matter until now. She'd stopped wearing her wedding ring. She said it was giving her a rash. It sounded believable. She'd always had sensitive skin. But she didn't try to get it resized. Didn't wear a temporary band. Just stopped. I offered to take her to a jeweler. She said she'd think about it. That was 3 months ago. Now that missing ring felt like a warning sign I'd ignored. And the makeup? That one snuck up on me too. Carol was always beautiful, effortlessly so. Most days, she never wore more than a little mascara and lip balm. But lately, she was putting on full makeup to go to the grocery store, to grab coffee, to run errands. I asked about it once, joked that she was getting fancy for the deli line. She just rolled her eyes. "Can't I look nice without you making it weird?" I laughed it off. But deep down, it stung. Not the makeup, the distance. Then came the trip. Portland. She said it was a conference. Business meetings. 3 days, 2 nights. She packed fast, didn't ask for help. When she got back, she was glowing. Not just happy, but flushed, energized in a way I hadn't seen in months. She tossed her suitcase onto the bed and told me all about the hotel, the skyline, the catered breakfast. But when I opened the bag to pull out laundry, I found a brand new set of lingerie, still in the packaging. Red lace, tags still attached, from a place I didn't even know she shopped. When I held it up, she grabbed it quickly. "I bought it on impulse," she said. "Haven't even worn it. Just wanted to feel cute, I guess." I didn't question her. I wanted to believe her. But now I was starting to see it for what it was. A breadcrumb. One of many. Even her scent had changed. She used to wear this light citrus perfume, barely there. One night, she came to bed smelling different. Sweet. Heavy. I asked if it was new, and she said she was trying samples from work. She worked in HR. The more I thought, the more I realized how well-crafted her detachment had become. Her silences weren't neglect, they were precision. Polished, deliberate, nice silence. I kept trying to talk to her. Not about accusations, just us. "How's work?" "Fine. Do you want to do something this weekend?" "Busy. Everything okay with you?" "I'm tired, Owen. Always tired. Always busy. Always somewhere else." Even in bed, we slept on opposite sides now. I don't think she touched me, not even brushed against me, in over a month. No kisses goodbye. No lingering looks. Just distance. Cold, growing, calculated distance. The kind that makes you doubt your own memory. The kind that turns your mind into a maze of second-guessing. I started checking things. Receipts, calendars, her work email, what little I had access to. Most of it seemed clean. Too clean. And I hated what I was becoming. Paranoid, anxious, obsessive. I didn't recognize myself. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. It wasn't just the belt. It was the buildup. The pattern. A silence that had turned into a strategy. She wasn't pushing me away on accident. She was making room for someone else. It was the 16th day since she stopped speaking to me. Not an argument. Not a fallout. Just that hollow kind of quiet where someone decides you're not even worth lying to anymore. That was the part one couldn't shake. It wasn't the absence of love I felt from Carol. It was the absence of effort, of strategy, like she'd already moved on, and now I was just a part of the set design. A couch, a lamp, some silent figure haunting her background. And still, I hadn't confronted her. Not really, because I still hadn't caught her. Not with proof. All I had were puzzle pieces. Suspicion. Dots that wouldn't connect clean. And no matter how obvious it felt, I kept second-guessing myself. Was I overreacting? Was I losing my mind? I needed something concrete. Something undeniable. So that morning, after she left the house at 6:40 a.m. Sharp, gym bag slung over her shoulder, phone clutched tight in her hand. I didn't go to work. I didn't eat breakfast. I just sat there in the kitchen until I heard her car fade down the block. Then I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and followed her. First, it felt stupid. Like I was one of those guys in a low-budget drama. Sweating behind the wheel, tailing his wife across town. I hated the feeling. But I hated the not knowing more. Carol had started going to a new fitness club on the far side of town about a month ago. More privacy, she'd said. Cleaner equipment. I'd never seen the place. Never dropped her off. She always drove herself. When I pulled into the parking lot, I made sure to stay back, tucked behind a row of SUVs. The club itself was upscale. Floor-to-ceiling windows, valet out front, a little smoothie bar inside. I cut the engine, leaned back, and turned on the jazz station. Low volume, something to distract me while I waited. 26 minutes passed. Then I saw her. She didn't come out the front entrance. She came out from a side door near the loading area. Not sweaty, not flushed. Still in her gym gear, but without a drop of sweat on her face. And beside her was a man. Tall, muscular, clean-cut beard. He wore a dark hoodie and joggers, and he was holding her water bottle like it was normal. Like this wasn't their first time doing this. I recognized him instantly. The furniture delivery guy. Same jawline. Same build. Same smug energy. He was real. Not just a name or a guess. He was real. And he was with her. They didn't see me. They were too wrapped up in each other. No attempt to hide. No glancing around. She was smiling, really smiling, in a way she hadn't done with me in months. Then, right there beside a stack of old pallets and a recycling bin, she stopped walking. And she reached for him. Not a hug. Not a friendly arm squeeze. She wrapped her arms around him, slow and soft, like she was memorizing the shape of his body. And then she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a mistake. This was a kiss with history. A kiss with confidence. A kiss that screamed, "You're not a secret. You're mine." Couldn't look away. She pulled back first. Said something I couldn't hear. He laughed. They walked off toward the back parking lot, side by side. I didn't move. Couldn't. I felt like I'd been bricked into my own skin. My hand stayed clenched on the steering wheel. My jaw locked tight. There was no dramatic music. No storm rolling in overhead. Just the soft murmur of a trumpet on the radio and the sudden, sharp silence inside me. And the strange part? I didn't feel shattered. I felt still. Still in a way that was terrifying and liberating at the same time. There was no more guessing. No more shadowboxing with suspicion. No more hoping I was wrong. This was real. This was happening. And I finally had my answer. I stayed parked for almost an hour watching people come and go. Watching women in leggings and ponytails jog into the front lobby with yoga mats under their arms. Watching guys with headphones march in like warriors. I stared blankly at a man loading weights into his trunk, and for a brief moment, I wondered what his life looked like. Did he have someone waiting at home for him? Was she honest? Was he? Then I pulled out of the lot and drove. Not home. Not to work. I ended up at the park Carol and I used to visit on weekends. Back when we still did weekends. Back when we'd lay on the grass and make stupid jokes about squirrels or try to remember the names of clouds. I sat on a bench under a tree, sunlight filtering through the branches, and just breathed. First, there was nothing. No tears. No shaking. Just silence. Like my whole body was trying to recalibrate. Then came the heat in my chest. Not heartbreak, but anger. Slow. Controlled. The kind that doesn't scream but simmers. And then, the clarity. It didn't matter why she did it. Whether she was bored or lonely or chasing some fantasy. Whether it had been going on for weeks or months. Whether she ever planned to tell me. None of that mattered anymore. What mattered was that I knew. That I'd seen it. That the war I'd been fighting in my head for the past month was finally over. Because the enemy had taken off the mask. And now? Now it was my turn to stop playing defense. I went home hours later. She wasn't there. Probably out running errands or seeing a friend. I didn't wait up. I didn't pace. I didn't check her phone or her drawers or sniff for cologne like a madman. I took a shower, changed clothes, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table and listened to Coltrane. And then I took out a notebook and started writing. Not letters. Not revenge plans. Just steps. Bullet points. Tasks. Because if she thought she could rewrite the rules and still keep the game, she was about to learn who she was really married to. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. No alarm. No sounds from Carol. Just instinct. My body felt like it had been rebooted. Not energized exactly, but awake in a new way. Aware. I walked into the kitchen barefoot, flipped on the light, and just stood there for a second, staring at the space like I didn't recognize it. Because honestly, I didn't. Everything in that room had started to feel like it belonged to someone else. The pale marble counters she insisted on. The carefully curated display of cookbooks she never opened. The little Live, Laugh, Love plaque she hung next to the sink. Even though we hadn't really laughed in months. But now, for the first time, I didn't feel surrounded by her choices. I felt free. I brewed a pot of strong coffee. Real coffee. The kind she used to roll her eyes at because it made the house smell too bold. I didn't care. I let the scent fill every corner. Then I stood by the window, mug in hand, and watched the sky shift from black to bruised blue. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wonder where she was. I didn't spiral. I just existed, and it felt damn good. Later that morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I pulled the old storage ladder out of the hall closet and climbed into the attic. It was hot and dusty and smelled like old books, but I knew what I was looking for. Back behind the unused holiday bins and the box of mismatched chords was a long black case. My saxophone, an alto Yamaha YAS-62, a graduation gift from my grandfather. I hadn't touched it in almost a decade. Carol always said it was too loud for the house. Too moody, she once joked, but I used to love that sound. The smooth edges, the heartbreak and soul in every note. I brought the case down, set it on the kitchen table, and opened it like I was unsealing a time capsule. The brass was a little tarnished, pads worn, but the moment my fingers wrapped around it, something clicked. I cleaned it for hours. Q-tips, soft cloths, a little elbow grease. I took my time, treated it like something sacred, because, in a way, it was not just an instrument but a piece of myself I'd buried in favor of domestic harmony. And when I finally lifted it to my lips and blew a low, trembling note, I felt something return. Not joy, but presence. Later that afternoon, I tackled the garage. Carol always hated clutter. Said the garage should be just for cars. But that's never what I wanted. That garage used to be mine, my space. I cleared out the bins she packed with seasonal decorations and magazine-perfect storage. Moved her yoga mats and the stationary bike she never used. And then I started rebuilding. Workbench, tools, a place to work with my hands again. To fix things. Not metaphorically, actual things. Broken chairs, old lamps, loose cabinet doors. I needed something real, tangible, something I could control. I kept going. I pulled all her minimalist kitchen gear out of the cabinets, the air fryer, the cold brew machine, the color-coded spice rack she never actually cooked with, and boxed it up. Not out of spite, just making room. Then I brought back my stuff. The coffee grinder she called obnoxious. My old cast-iron SK*let. The spice rack I built myself, years before she convinced me it didn't match the aesthetic. My mismatched plates, chipped, heavy, and full of history. Plates I actually liked eating off. I cooked dinner that night. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti with crushed red pepper, garlic, and real Parmesan. Not the low-fat junk she used to buy. I plated it on one of my old navy blue dishes and ate it standing up, jazz humming in the background, sauce on my shirt, no apologies. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was performing in my own house. I was just living. The days that followed felt strange, but in a good way. The kind of strange you get when the noise finally dies down, and you realize you were never listening to yourself in the first place. Carol barely noticed. She was still going through the motions, still leaving early, coming back late, still walking past me like I was an inconvenient piece of furniture that didn't fit her new layout. She didn't comment on the coffee, or the saxophone, or the smell of garlic that lingered long after I cooked. She didn't even ask where her yoga mat went. She just kept up the show. But me, I was done watching. I started waking up early every day. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. I liked the quiet before the sun, before the pretending started. I'd make my coffee, pull out my sax, and practice. Badly at first. Rusty, breathless notes. But then smoother, more confident, like I was reminding my lungs how to sing. The neighbors probably hated it. I didn't care. I was alive again. Eventually, I even started writing. Not poetry or songs or anything dramatic. Just pages, observations, thoughts, things I remembered from before Carol's cold spell. Things I had forgotten mattered. The way my mom's spaghetti always tasted a little burnt, but I loved it anyway. The smell of motor oil on my dad's hands when I was a kid. The first time I played a solo in middle school and the whole auditorium went quiet. I wrote because it anchored me, reminded me that I had a life before her silence. A pulse, a rhythm, a soul. And I wasn't going to lose that again. It wasn't that I stopped hurting. It's just that the pain had changed. Before, it was confusion. a raw ache of not knowing, of wondering where I'd gone wrong. But now it was something else. It was fuel. I wasn't sleeping in the guest room. I wasn't making sarcastic remarks. I wasn't begging her to open up. I was done begging, done proving, done shrinking. Every time she walked past me and said nothing, it felt less like a punishment and more like permission. Permission to take back what I'd given up without realizing. And every day, the silence lost a little more power. One morning, while I was tuning the sax, she walked by and glanced at me. She didn't say anything, but I saw it. The twitch in her jaw, the flicker of something behind her eyes. Annoyance? Regret? I didn't ask, because I wasn't playing for her. By the 25th day, I'd stopped hoping for anything to change. I wasn't angry anymore, not in the way I had been. It was quieter now, not fire, but a slow, low-burning certainty. A decision that had started forming the second I saw her kiss that man behind the gym, and was now solidifying like cement under my feet. Carol still hadn't said a word about it. Not the kiss, not the belt, not the way I'd rearranged the kitchen or started playing music again. Not even the silence between us, which had become its own living, breathing thing. She didn't ask questions, didn't show concern. But she was watching me. I could feel it. The quick glances when she thought I wasn't looking. The sudden tension in her shoulders when she came home and heard the saxophone through the walls. The way she paused on the stairs when I laughed on a phone call with an old friend. She noticed me, not because she missed me, but because she couldn't figure me out anymore. And that unsettled her. I realized something that morning, standing in the kitchen with steam rising from my mug, the soft hum of jazz in the background. She hadn't just betrayed me. She couldn't stand that I was stronger without her. That was the real crack in the mirror. This had never just been about passion or someone else's cologne. It was about control. And now that I wasn't playing the part of the confused, broken husband, she didn't know what to do with me. My stillness was louder than any confrontation could have been. My peace was a kind of defiance she didn't know how to respond to. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to accuse. I wasn't going to beg for truth she'd already buried. I was going to leave on my terms. That day, I opened my laptop and searched for a divorce attorney. Nothing fancy, just someone local, discreet, and direct. I found a firm with solid reviews and scheduled a consultation for that afternoon. I didn't wait, didn't hesitate. Felt like booking a dentist appointment. Necessary, overdue, strangely freeing. The office was quiet, carpeted, a little too sterile. The receptionist offered me coffee. I declined. When the lawyer came out to greet me, I shook his hand and said the words that finally made it real. "I'm ready to move on." He nodded, like he'd heard it 1,000 times before. Maybe he had. We talked logistics, assets, the house, no kids, shared accounts. I laid it all out clean. Told him I wasn't interested in revenge, just resolution. He asked if there was a specific date I wanted the papers served. I paused. Then I said, "Yes, day 29. He looked up. "A reason." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "I want that day to mean something." We signed the initial documents. He assured me everything would be ready, that all I had to do was confirm the time, and they'd handle the rest. Efficient. Surgical. No drama unless she made it one. I left the office lighter. Not happy. Not yet. But clear. I stopped by a bookstore on the way home. Bought a new leather-bound journal. Something simple, unbranded. I didn't know what I'd write in it yet, but I wanted to mark the shift. Not just legally, but internally. When I got home, Carol wasn't there. Her car was gone. Probably yoga, though I stopped pretending to believe it weeks ago. I stepped into the kitchen and made a note on the fridge calendar. 29, flowers, 8 a.m. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I went back to living. The next few days were quiet. Still but not empty. I kept playing. Kept waking up early. I called my brother for the first time in months. I started reading again. Real books, not just articles. I even went out one night and listened to a live jazz trio downtown. Alone. I ordered a whiskey, tipped the band, and walked home under the stars. Carol didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't even notice I'd gone. But she was growing more restless. I caught her pacing on the phone one night, her voice sharp, irritated. "I don't know what's wrong with him," she snapped. "He's not reacting to anything. It's like he's just fine." She was locked in the guest bathroom, door closed. "But the walls in this house are thin." Her voice carried just enough. "No, I haven't told him," she said. "Because I don't need to. He doesn't care. He hasn't even brought it up. He's just walking around like he's better off." Then silence. I leaned against the hallway wall and closed my eyes. That was the moment. The moment it all crystallized. She hadn't just cheated on me. She wasn't just lying or hiding or fading. She was waiting. Waiting for me to fall apart. To confront her. To accuse her. To scream. To chase. To need her. And when I didn't, that's what broke her. Because without my attention, my obsession, she had nothing to play against. I became a blank canvas. And in doing so, I took back everything. That night, I wrote the note. Simple. Short. Just 2 sentences. I folded it neatly and placed it in an envelope. Then I pulled out a second sheet of paper. This one was longer, but just as direct. My lawyer had attached a cover letter for Carol to receive with the divorce filing. But I wanted to include a message of my own. Not petty. Not cruel. Just closure. I clipped the note to the top of the document packet and sealed the envelope. The next morning, I scheduled the flower delivery. I asked for white tulips. Clean, elegant, quiet. A symbol of peace. Or surrender, depending on how you look at it. I specified the time, 8 a.m. sharp. I left instructions. Placed them on the kitchen table. Then I set an alarm for that Friday, the 29th day. On day 29, I left white tulips on the kitchen table with a note. "Thank you for the best month of our marriage." Carol froze when she saw it. Then I handed her the divorce papers, clipped with a final line. "Now I choose my life without you." 3 months later, the divorce was final. She cried, wrote, begged. I never looked back. I kept the house, filled it with music, rebuilt myself. One day, I packed her last things and left a note. "You wanted me to feel life without your attention. Thank you. I don't need it anymore.